Board Secretary.
This portion of the agenda allows an individual the opportunity to address the board on any item not on the agenda regarding district business. State law prohibits the district from taking any action on any item not on the agenda unless authorized under 51954.2 78 Government Code. Any matter may be referred to the general manager. An individual may also address the board. An individual may also address the board on any agenda item at the time the matter is discussed and prior to board consideration and action. Speakers will be limited to 5 minutes. Your time will start when you approach the podium and you will be given a 30-second warning before your time expires. If you choose to ask a question during this time, any response by the board will not extend your time. Questions may be referred to the general manager to be answered at a later time after the meeting. In order to allow for a smooth and orderly meeting and allow each speaker the ability to address the board, disruptions from the audience will not be tolerated and you can be asked to leave. We appreciate your cooperation in this democratic process.
Public comments? All right, PH1, final budget adoption.
Yes, as the board knows, the board and staff has worked very hard and diligently on this year's fiscal budget. There was a preliminary budget that was presented, and at that time, the board created a ad hoc committee for the budget, which met several times to work on reductions and look how we could better be more efficient. Then we had a public meeting, and at that time, the board had some additional discussion and decided to send it back to staff to look for additional reductions. And so staff looked at those, came up with some proposals. The board wanted a public workshop. The public workshop was then presented. The new cuts, at that time, the board made their comments on reductions and also additions to the budget. At the end of the meeting, the board unanimously gave staff direction to take those reductions and those additions to the budget and incorporate them into the preliminary budget. And those amendments have been done to the budget, and that's what's before you tonight.
Any questions?
Before we have questions, it would be appropriate to open the public hearing.
Okay. Well, public hearing regarding adoption of the budget. Any questions?
No.
Just that personnel expenses, I noticed that the water has $1,058,000, while sewer is only $763,000. Is there a reason for that disparity, or?
Yes, allocation of costs are different, for the sewer and the water. We have 2 employees that are on the sewer, and we have, numerous employees that work on the water. And Brad can correct me if I'm wrong. Pretty close.
Any other questions?
You ready to entertain a motion? Sure. I make a motion that we reduce.
First, he's got to close the public hearing.
Now we got a brief presentation from staff.
No, that's it.
That's it.
So if there's no public testimony, then it would be appropriate to close the public hearing.
Okay, have a motion to close it. You don't need a motion.
You don't need a motion, you can just simply declare, Mr. President.
Okay, the meeting is closed. Public hearing.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion that the 2% cost of living that is in the salaries be removed from the proposed budget. We're asking the people of this community to shoulder a tremendous increase in costs, and yet we're not doing enough to reduce the expenses. And also, I would like to see, well, let me just make that one motion right there.
Is that a motion to approve the budget with the removal?
No, it's a motion just to remove the 2% cost of living allowance.
Okay, the item before you is adoption of the budget. So if you have amendments to it, it would be appropriate to say, I move approval of the budget with the following amendments, and then list them all, if that's what you would like to do. Or move something else, but what's before you is approval or not approval of the budget.
Mr. President, I move to approve the preliminary budget with the following exceptions.
Mr. McKay, the final budget, not the preliminary, it's the final.
Okay, the final budget, okay. that the 2% cost of living be removed from the final budget, and also underneath the proposed capital budget on the back, there is a carport. I believe the carport needs to be removed also.
Do we take them together or what?
Take
The
it as one
motion
motion.
in front of the board right now is to approve the budget as presented with removal of the 2% COLA and the carport item from the capital budget. If there is a second, then you can act on that. If there's no second, then that motion would die for lack of a second, and then a new motion could be proposed, or someone could propose a substitute motion, and then we'll go down the Robert's Rules path on that.
Right, so somebody else could do another motion and say, I propose that we, a substitute motion, that we adopt this budget with these amendments instead, and then we'll have to go from there.
Just a question, I know there's no motion on the table yet, but
There is a motion.
There is a motion on the table.
No second.
There's
The
no
vote, the
second.
motion on the table is to adopt this final budget with bringing out the employees' cost of living increase to 2% and crossing out and deleting the carport project on the CIP budget.
Did we do a second or a question?
There is no second.
Right now, we don't have a second, so we,
Second.
okay, so we have a second, so that is the motion before you at this time.
Questions now?
Questions
Now
and
you can do questions
discussion?
and discussion.
okay, the carport, if we were to leave it in there, doesn't mean we're necessarily going to spend the money on the carport, is that correct?
That means we're not going to spend the money on the carport and get
I mean, if we
the,
leave it in there, we still would or would not.
there is always a adjustment at the mid-year. The reason why the carport was put in there is because Mr. McKay thought that it would be an idea to get the solar on there also, to get more solar for more alternative energy. But the board decided that that would be a good idea, but that's up to the board.
John?
I was under the impression that if we didn't use that money for the carport, though, we could use it for a backhoe or something of that nature.
Director Lansford, to directly answer your question, just because it's in the budget doesn't mean you have to spend it. It can be, to Mr. Smith's point, reappropriated at another time.
Any other questions or comments?
So with respect to the poll, go ahead.
I have a comment in relationship to that motion. In reference to the addition of the legal fees, and that was on the things that we've changed, of $120,000 for the establishment of a union at Rosamond Community Services District. I have 3 observations. I am speaking for myself, not the board. First, I am disappointed that a majority of the employees believe they need a union to negotiate with this board. Second, I believe this demonstrates a lack of trust between the employees and this board. And third, each employee will have an additional regular deduction taken from their check for union dues.
Any other comments?
With respect to the cost of living, the 2% cost of living is, my understanding is that the teachers union over Southern Kern Unified School District just passed their contract, 179-1, which included, I think, a 3 to 5% increase in annual pay. If, of course, some of our employees are going to stay on the same path as the other public employees in town, perhaps 2%.
You also got to look at that they took 8 years cost of
Yeah, just if you want background on it, our employees in the past 4 years, the cost of living has averaged about 2.5%. So that would be over those 4 years would be a 10% increase. Our employees have only gotten a 3% increase. We have been looking at comp and class from other local agencies, and other agencies are anywhere from 8 to 15% higher than us. And so you talk about employee retention, and that's what's important. We train our employees. We have employees that have some time here, and losing them affects the agency. We are running on a shoestring staff right now. You can ask John, we have multiple leaks. We don't have the staff that we need. We just lost an employee to another agency because they pay 9% higher than we do. And so I think it would be fiscally responsible for not only employee retention, but also for the health of the agency, to give the employees a 2% cost of living, which only comes out to $20,000. This board had added other things to it, not only conservation, but other consultants and everything. Mr. Lansgard, you added something that we put in for $20,000 for a consultant on hospitality.
Well, you call it hospitality.
Well, whatever you want to, I didn't know what to call it, so I call it hospitality, but a consultant come in.
I want to see our
Right, so,
district be more
so it's a matter,
friendly as you come in.
it's
Yes.
a matter of priorities for the board. And I, as your manager and advisor, and my job is to say what is important. I think this COLA, out of everything that's been added on, is important. Something else should be cut for $20,000 rather than the COLA.
How much would it cost to train one employee?
To train one employee, like, what do you mean to train?
How much does it cost us? Do you have
How
an
much
idea,
does it
John?
cost in law school? How much does it cost to get an accounting degree? It's a superfluous question.
Well, I guess
It's
the
hard to
question-
know, but the industry average is 2 times annual salary to lose one employee and bring on a new one to replace them.
So if we're paying somebody $60,000 a year, it's going to cost us $120,000 to
Well,
replace them.
the
It's
thing is,
back of the envelope math.
yeah, some of the things are hard.
That's what I wanted.
Yeah, it's hard to grasp. If you have an employee that has a certain amount of productivity, that's saving the agency money, because he might be able to get the job done in 2 hours rather than 5 hours. Now we have somebody coming on that's brand new that doesn't know the job.
Well, that's what
Correct.
The accountant has the basic statistics, and I guess the question is there anybody that's unproductive in Mr. Howard or Mr. Smith?
We are
Well,
not
we're
going to
not
be
allowed to talk
discussing
about that.
personnel matters in open session.
Well, what I mean is,
I can tell you,
they are productive.
I can tell you I know what you're going at. I can tell you from my personal experience, and John and Rock can say, everybody in this agency is working 110% to try to help the agency and doing what a number of people are doing 2 jobs, and but like I told you, other agencies have been recruiting our employees, and so I think it behooves us to give them and show them the accolade that you guys have been working hard. They've reduced the costs. Like I said, I've tasked staff to reduce overtime. The employees have been trying to work more efficiently, been trying to do the job better, to reduce costs for this agency, and I think that they deserve the 2% cost of living. And that's my recommendation as your manager.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I got a question for you. See, I was against this raise 100% because, and I discussed it with you. And it was because there was going union and there's going to negotiate anyway. And that's where I was coming from. Now, here's where I'm going to say something. If I'm out of order, you need to tell me, the lawyer needs to tell me.
If you're going to, why don't you just real quickly go talk to Allison and say whatever you're going to say so she can tell you whether you can say that. Because because you're talking about the union and employees, it's good that she gives you a little advice.
You take over?
No, wait.
No.
Anyway.
Take a brief recess.
But they told me he was losing an employee.
Yes.
And he gets, ours gets $21 an hour.
Right, and he's going to make 26 at
We
the
would
new
make
water.
26.
At the new water
Well,
agency.
see, I didn't know their wages was that low. So that's kind of changed my mind. That's all I want to say. Someone in the audience will make.
Yes, on this,
We need to go back on that.
It would be appropriate to take a motion to reopen the public hearing, and then we would need to have an approval of that motion. So what we would need to do is
Because you have a motion on the floor with a second.
Right.
This one is.
a
this one-
superseding motion.
superseding
So it would
motion.
be a motion to reopen the public hearing, take public testimony, and then we would close it again, and then go back to the motion that is on the floor.
It's a privilege motion.
It is a privilege motion.
Right.
Shall we discuss Robert's rules some more?
Do we need a motion to do that?
Yes.
We do.
It's a privilege motion without
I'll second
discussion.
that motion.
Doesn't it take 2/3?
It does take 2/3, and there's no discussion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Somebody
Who made
nominate?
the second?
I seconded it, made the motion.
Okay, great. Okay.
on the cost of living at 2%, is that gonna be a 2% just one time, or is that yearly 2% every year? When you guys
No,
are
it would
discussing?
be a 2%
This year.
one time, this year.
Okay,
Okay, they get their same wages for, so say you got increased by $1 an hour. You're gonna get $1 an hour this year, next year, the year after that, whenever. So,
Okay.
but it's not 2% a
I'm
year.
just asking, because I got 23 years law enforcement in me, I just retired, I get a 1% every year. So this 2% you're talking about, I agree, I'm just saying thank you.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, Ron, you correct me if I'm mistaken, from now on, it's
Correct. Everything from now on is going to be negotiated by the union, and
general manager, well, he'll be negotiating.
right, and we'll be negotiating with the union.
Since we're in that stage of negotiation, I think we need to stay where we're at and do the negotiation. We approve the increase, does not mean that they're not going to come forward and ask for more.
So we vote on,
So the motion before you presently that is moved and seconded is to approve the budget with removal of the 2% COLA and removal of the carport from the capital improvements budget.
Wait, there's an additional public comment.
No, it's done.
Yes, no, I come after him. You opened it for him. Yeah.
Oh, we didn't know you wanted to
You didn't
speak.
say-
Oh, I do want to speak.
Okay, go ahead.
The handout you gave me says, notice of the public hearing to adopt the final operating capital budget was published on August 15th, 2016. Where was it published?
Was that the AV Press?
The reason why it wasn't published in the local paper?
It's out, that's out of the county. That's in Los Angeles County.
Is there a reason why it wasn't published in the local paper?
That's not something that we're discussing.
Well, we really have to be clear to the public, that might be something.
People didn't know about it.
I'm really not going to discuss public business and negotiations for businesses here at the open meeting. That's something-
It's not a negotiation, it's a question. Where was it published?
We said.
Appropriate, it is an adjudicated newspaper for publication in this area.
No, it is not. It's for LA County, ma'am.
I get the Alabama Press, that's where I get all my news.
I think he's talking about the technicalities. I'm pretty sure it's covered both counties.
Well, we can discuss that afterwards, if there's and I'll go research that for you.
Well,
Find out.
since it was not publicly noticed, you have to go and do it again before you can have this
Well, that's a
meeting.
legal decision that we're not making at this time.
AV Press includes a letter because that was 419. But anyway, with respect, I would like to make a further motion.
A substitute motion?
Substitute motion?
Substitute motion that we adopt the resolution 2016-102 to approve and adopt the final budget fiscal year, removing the carport.
And we need a second. So the motion on the floor is a substitute motion to change the motion that was on the floor to only removing the carport and leaving the cost of living increase in there. And that substitute motion is waiting for a second.
anyone second it? I'll second.
So the substitute motion needs to be taken first.
Yes, substitute motion goes first, so before you now is the motion to approve the final budget as presented with the removal of the carport from the capital improvements budget.
Leaving in the cost of living.
Is it roll call?
Yes.
Yes, it's a resolution.
Vice President Lancer?
Aye.
Director Schimmelfeder?
No.
Director Lennon?
No.
Director McCain?
No.
President Hall?
Yes.
Motion fails.
Motion fails.
So the other motion on the floor is to remove the cost of living increase and remove the carports. And that motion
I'm
is-
sorry, we need to announce the vote before we,
Oh, no, I'm
the
sorry.
motion failed with yeses by Lance and Wallace, if I got that right.
Correct.
Okay. Now we can go to the motion that was made by Mr. McKay, which is to approve the budget as, the final budget as presented to the board in the agenda with removal of the 2% COLA and removal of the carport from the capital improvements budget.
Roll call?
May I speak to that one more?
Sure.
I don't use that much time, so I feel no problem on repeating what I've said because few have come in since that time. We've added to this budget since we looked at it a week ago, $120,000 to legal fees to establish a union. $120,000 was added for legal fees to establish a union at Rosamond Community Services District. I'm speaking for myself. You have 3 observations. First, I'm disappointed that a majority of the employees believe they need a union to negotiate with this board. Second, I believe this demonstrates a lack of trust between the employees and this board. And then third, each employee will now have an additional regular deduction taken from their paycheck for union dues.
Yeah.
The way the resolution is written, it also says it was publicly noticed. But my question is, where was the resolution publicly noticed?
Same place that the clerk told you before, Allen Valley Press.
That's out of this county. They're not adjudicated to,
Gazette. You want to be fair.
they're,
Say against it, makes it legal.
Changed this.
No, that's what gets you communication.
Any other questions?
Yes, and if it doesn't pass, then you can do another motion, we can have more discussion, so. Whatever, it's your pleasure, that's okay. You can take the
Roll call
vote.
vote.
Vice President Lanford,
No.
Dr. Singleton,
Yes.
Dr. Glenn,
No.
Dr. McKay,
Yes.
President Lawless.
No.
Motion fails.
Fail?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
So,
It failed with yeses by directors.
Shingle-Decker and
McKay.
McKay, yes. Yeah, right. Motion failed. So we still have the budget in front of you, and it's your pleasure on, no, the public clearing has been, you reopened it, and I think you reclosed it, and we had public comment.
Is there anything else you want to add or subtract?
I make a motion we approve the proposed budget for 2016-2017 with the recommendation from the general manager.
Second?
I'll second.
Roll call vote. Any discussion?
Vice President Lanford,
Aye.
Dr. Singleton,
No.
Dr. Glenn,
Yes.
Dr. McKay,
No.
President Lawless.
Yes.
Motion passes with noes by directors Shingle-Decker and McKay.
A second? All in favor?
Aye.
Ed made the motion. And a second. Okay, report on actually taking the closed session.
The board took up item closed session 1 in closed session. As noted on the agenda, no reportable action.
Without objection, we adjourn this meeting.
6:49.